Welcome to the Transformative Living Labs session. My name is Oliver Lahr and I'm running the Urban Living Lab Center. I'll be running briefly through some basics on our center and the key focus areas of our Transformative Living Labs and some of the key concepts, and then we'll share a small little example from one of our partner cities. The Urban Living Lab Center is the first collaborating center of UN Habitat, and we're working with a number of partner universities and think tanks in Europe, Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and focus on transformative demonstrations in the areas of urban development, urban mobility, urban energy systems, and system integration. The way we use Urban Living Labs is transformation through experimentation. So it's a designed process where we co-develop solutions in a very inclusive and participatory way. So just briefly touching on what a living lab is and what it is not. So a living lab is not just another pilot project. It's not about just testing one technology for the technology and the product's sake. And it's not just one initial participatory workshop, it's a long participatory process. So the basic idea of an urban living lab is that it is in an urban context. It is living, it's a real experiment in an urban setting, in a neighborhood, in a district, in just one street, just one building. It is a lab, so it is an experiment. It's something that we try out together in that specific context with key development partners. So that is the local community, it is the local private sector, it's the local public sector, and the facilitation happens through the academics locally. And first of all, it's transformative. So we, in our work at least, in the Urban Living Lab Center, we are focusing specifically on solutions that have transformative potential. So something that can be replicated elsewhere and scaled up. The way we approach our Living Lab concepts is reasonably simple. It's structured around 5 basic steps that help us structuring our projects and follow a certain logic in the co-development process. That means that we start with informing our local partners of the various solutions that are out there that can be tested and replicated in their local context. And then we start inspiring them with some examples from other cities, other regions that have tried different and similar solutions, and so that we help providing a little bit of insights on some of the practical implementation challenges, but also opportunities that are ready to be implemented here locally. And then while we did that, so we identified a concrete solution, we have a couple of examples from around the world on similar activities and how this has worked. We start initiating a co-development partnership that includes local public sector, local private sector, civil societies and NGOs, and it brings together the local academics as the facilitators of that process. This helps strengthening the collaboration partnership and provides a basis for the next step is towards the implementation of the demonstration concept that we have co-developed. And this is the element where it really is all about testing and evaluating the validity of the concept and its scalability and replicability, because then the final pillar is all about the scale up and replication and transfer. Here we digest all the learnings from the Living Lab and the data that we've gathered and focus on the transformative steps towards the bigger transformative demonstration. The co-development process involves local and national authorities, because here the interplay between local and national regulatory environments is a critical element that may help or hinder testing our solution. Involving the private sector, in particular startups and SMEs, but also industry players, is quite vital for the business cases and the economic viability of the project that we're pursuing. And of course, the public sector is playing an essential role in driving the solution at the local level in particular. The researchers and lecturers are a critical part of the facilitation of that process, and of course, in particular when it comes to big investment projects that these demonstrations are paving the way towards to, finance institutions are a key player in the co-development process. Our focus is always on the interplay between infrastructures, technologies, services, and making them user-oriented. And of course, one of the key enabling elements, coming from an academic background as we do, is strengthening capacities at all these levels. One of the key focus areas here for us is having a Vision Zero, and that goes for sustainability in particular. So we're translating a little bit some of the learnings that we have from the road safety realm into the decarbonization and sustainability realm, and really focus on not blaming individuals but empowering them and creating systemic solutions that enable them to move around safely and sustainably, to use energy and our city systems sustainably, and aiming for a facilitated societal approach that is enabling and not blaming individuals. A quick insight from one of our lovely partner cities in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte, one of our oldest partners in our co-development process, where we developed tactical urbanism solutions and focused here on the development of practical but affordable solutions at the local level. This comes from technical urbanism experiences from around the region, and we've developed that together with our local partner city, Belo Horizonte, in one of the neighborhoods. This project started out as a sustainability initiative driven a lot by the mayor. Yet then we had a change of government at the local level, and the new mayor, you could say, was not particularly interested to push this idea further from a sustainability perspective. So we took it to a different twist, let's say, focusing here on safe routes to school for kids in a local neighborhood that was highly densely populated with a lot of safety issues around that school. So the same idea of the tactical urbanism was used, of course, to bring in sustainability aspects into the neighborhood as well, but driven largely by the objective of improving safety in that neighborhood. And we, of course, gathered the facts, and as I mentioned, this school was already identified as a safety hotspot, so creating interventions in that area was a very practical thought here, of course. And in a similar way as we had it previously on a theoretical space, here just an example on how the co-design process happens at the city level. Here the example from Belo Horizonte around our local champion, Evelyn Trevisan, a city sustainability advisor, with years of experience in the city and good knowledge of all the key actors and stakeholders, and then the team around her, including the public and private sector, NGOs, and civil society organizations. Here, of course, a specific twist to the co-design process when it comes to the development of solutions around the city. Here, we had the opportunity to involve school kids in the co-design process, and their families were involved in the entire process as well. So
this then also includes the awareness raising and the activation of the neighborhood throughout the process, which is guided by the development of a key performance indicators framework and the development of a methodology to assess the impacts of the project, and guided by various audits and surveys throughout the process. The beauty of an intervention such as tactical urbanism solutions is that there is an opportunity to actively involve neighborhoods directly in development and even implementation of that demonstration, and that of course can also go beyond just a pure technical implementation, but also focus on empowering and enabling the neighborhood to use the street space as an airspace. And of course, the whole documentation of the before and after is a critical element for us to learn from that process and to share this. That assessment happens so that we can learn from it, but then of course also for the visibility within the city, it is quite a critical solution to help gathering data and gathering evidence of the benefits of those solutions. And then of course going out and talking about it, not just within the city, but beyond, helps a lot with the replication of the solution. And that happened in this case as well, where those solutions were replicated across the city and across the continent. And as we do here, we'll share this with the wider audience. So the focus on our urban living landscapes, but we need a very clear geographic space where we implement solutions. This, of course, depends a lot also on the ability and scope of the project, involve end users directly, empower local leaders, experiment and learn, and refine and evaluate. And that part is a step-by-step approach that just helps reflecting a little bit the very simple but very effective approach of an urban living. So we focus on not something theoretical, but something real in an urban context. We try to identify innovations, but that doesn't always mean that we are aiming for high-end technologies, but innovation in a specific local context. This can be also something that's tested and implemented across the globe, such as technical urbanism solutions. But it can also, of course, be new one technologies. So the testing of innovations is critical to be able then also to say that this is not fit for purpose in this context. And here the end user participation is so critical in that co-design process that this is not something that is being brought in from the outside, but something that is developed from the inside. And some kind of a local leader is always important. It can be the mayor, but it can also be an advisor. It can be someone from the administration. It can also be someone from the civil society, but some local leadership is quite important to have the dynamics to the process. And of course, a certain guidance by some academic colleagues is quite important to gather the evidence to make sure that this is really something that can be replicated and scaled up. So we don't want silos, we want cooperation, we want a clear and flexible experimentation that recognizes the importance of the embeddedness in the local context. We test solutions with the option of identifying that this is not a solution that fits, and we want something that is transformative, so really something that can be scaled and replicated. That process is something that you will find in some of our guidance documents of the Urban Living Lab Center, and we really want to showcase here some of the transformative solutions, link key sectors, test them, and bring coalitions together that enable the transformative change. That's us as a Urban Living Lab Center, and you're more than welcome to join our wider network and to find out more about our work. And there are also quite a few reading materials that we are sharing, and courses that we develop together, and a number of partner cities and the growing family of cities that is. Thank you very much, and stay in touch.